I mean, because of this lockdown, right? The brick and mortar businesses are impacted pretty badly, and customer for such stores are actually stuck at home, even though they want to buy things, but they are stuck at home. Per the latest reports, the online transaction have reached to pre-COVID situation in tier one cities. That makes it very important for the businesses to make sure that they are present and visible to consumers in digital space. The online ecosystem is also evolving. In fact, latest data suggests that e-commerce penetration is increased in US during the COVID period. So, I mean, it's pretty evident that the customers and businesses are both moving online, and it is safe to say that the COVID-19 has actually accelerated the entire digital commerce space by 2 to 3 years. I would like to introduce our guests who are going to speak on the topic for today. Abhijit, he headed growth and marketing at Rentomojo, which is India's leading rental platform. He led a team of 25 people looking after growth, branding, content, and performance marketing. Prior to Rentomojo, he was also part of Aditya Group. Our second guest today is Spurti. She's an engineer turned digital marketer. She has about 12 years of experience in leading digital marketing in multiple space domains. She's a performance marketing evangelist and helps businesses steer away from traditional marketing and move towards the performance oriented approach. Currently, she's leading digital marketing for online business of AMPM Fashions. So, Abhijit, we were discussing the other day how you at Rento Mojo had seen many ups and downs as a growth head, right? Uh, how is the situation similar to what most companies are facing today?
Uh, it's unprecedented to a large level because the demand is itself expected to go down. But I'm sure, like anybody who has been in startups and who has been in growth or marketing teams at startups, has seen how the typical cash flow situation is in startup. And typically, when you run for your funding, a lot of the times there is a very hard constraint on your costs, right? So last year at Rento Mojo, we also got into some trouble during our funding rounds, and some of the funding didn't come at the time that we expected, and because of that, we were basically running on empty for like 2 3 months last year, right? So I think in that sense, it's very similar to what a lot of teams I expect would have been doing for the last 2 3 months. They would have probably had to cut budgets. We see all unicorn startups laying off staff. We see a lot of e-commerce as well as other players, laying off staff. Uh, Generally, layoffs happen later. Typically, the everything else which is sort of discretionary goes first, right? So I expect that a lot of digital marketeers and a lot of growth teams would be right now working under very cash constrained models. So in that sense, it is similar to what we sort of saw at Rent last year.
I mean, marketing cost is actually a very important point. I mean, given the current situation, all businesses are trying to conserve the cash. Can you explain in more detail how you guys dealt with the zero marketing expense then?
For us, it wasn't a choice like most of the startups even now would be facing. We had to cut down all our spends. At that time, I think Google, Facebook together accounted for around 65 70% of our spends, performance spends. And we had to scale it down to zero, right? So, how we dealt with this is first, we let go of all the fixed costs that we had. So, there's a lot of contracts we had where we had fixed cost contracts with some affiliates where there's a minimum contract guarantee. We also had a digital marketing agency at that point of time. The contract was done in good time. So this happens a lot of times that sometimes when the business is going up, you have money right now. Your contracts are not framed thinking what could happen when money runs out. So we sort of chopped away at all those fixed costs first. And then we sort of pivoted away to, hardcore organic and SEO strategies. And we were able to do this in a cross-functional team manner, and we were able to sort of bounce back spectacularly last year.
Okay, how about what are the ways companies can actually look for to keep their marketing budget in control? I mean, like Abhijit said, that the marketing cost is one of the first thing which is actually curtailed first. So, but I mean, how do we keep the marketing budget in control, but making sure that the growth is not impacted?
I think marketing budgets are very much impacted everywhere with the current situation. All the cash situations are like everybody's holding on to cash and then letting go of any costs or any expenditures in any of the domains. So marketing budgets as such are impacted, but if we have enough planning and learning from the previous things, we can play with the limited amount of marketing budget as well. So here, currently, we what we did is we scaled down the budget to minimalistics. I think we cut down Google completely, and because it's a fashion area, we continued with a bit on Facebook and Instagram, and it worked. Because there was very less CPC and high CTR involved, we could get a greater conversion rate and a greater ROAS for the limited budgets we had. So all in all, a good situation.
I mean, see, pre-COVID, businesses had already acquired customers, right? With the current budget constraints for marketing, right? Is there any choice between acquiring new customers or retaining their old customers in the current scenario? Should businesses choose between one of them and alter their strategy?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So, in this situation where everything is a little chaotic and there's a lot of confusion out there in the sense of marketing strategy and the communication strategy as well, we found out that keeping your audience engaged, be it existing people, be it new visitors, if they are engaged with the brand, with the company as a whole, they are well to go ahead in the funnel. It is so the strategies now in the last 2 months, what we designed were never focused on acquisition or retention. We designed everything to do the communication right, to get the engagement right with the people on board, and that worked. So at this point in time, somebody who is highly engaged with the brand or the company or the product certainly goes ahead and buys when the need be. So it actually helps to convert rather than doing those high budgets on Google search ads and stuff. This part of engagement with social media, emails, web push notifications, WhatsApp, and everything, it worked well.
Abhijit, what would be your view on this? I mean, should businesses focus on retaining their customer or acquiring new customers?
I think I wouldn't put it as a binary choice. I think this is a timing issue, right? So some businesses, for example, say you are a Reliance Retail or a Chroma right now, right? So these guys are running out of coolers and ACs in North India side, right? Because the demand of the product is there. Correct. So at that point of time, you're looking at acquisition depending on whether your good can be serviced and provided to the customer at that point of time today. For some products, there is still some time left in which you can actually serve a customer, right? So there are products which probably the demand will pick up slowly. In that case, I would look at a long-term strategy. So I wouldn't say it's a binary choice of acquiring or retaining. And as Puti said, that engagement is very critical right now. We are living in a very weird kind of a time where all of us are surrounded by this big crisis. It has both brought a lot of people together in a very lot of surprising ways. So I was looking at what brands are doing on social media, for example, and you could see that relatable content, relevant content, that is spiking up because people right now have the time on their hands to engage with brands, right? So I've seen people in my friend circle also running, say, content per pieces or social media pieces. Their social media following has doubled in the last 2 3 months, because people have the time and energy to actually engage, right? And some of them have used it, as Purti was saying, some of them have used it quite innovatively, creating surveys. For example, if you are a travel brand today, if you're a GoIBO did this amazing activity on their app. They were running trivia quizzes, right? And they were running trivia quizzes, and the winner would get some sort of a holiday at some sort of, whenever the holidays are possible, right? So at some level, everybody is trying to manage, not only just customers, potential customers, as well as everybody else on the website, to sort of uh, be there for you, kind of a engagement. So I think there's no real choice here. I think you have to follow engagement strategies right now and wait and bide for your time whenever things open up.
You also mentioned a very important, point there. I mean that there are a lot of customers who actually were used to shopping offline, right? I mean, but because of lockdown, like you mentioned in Chroma and other retail chains, right? They can't go and purchase it, right? So they are moving towards online purchases for the first time. For this group of people, it's actually very difficult for them to figure out where the brands are available, right? Because they are moving online for the first time. It's actually an opportunity for the business to acquire new customers, right? How do you think that businesses should target these new people and retain them for the long term?
Yeah, so I think this is an interesting development. I think if you look at one sector, which is education, for example, right? Right now, presently, you have a lot of new traffic. Like, education tech is booming. They have got 8x, 10x, 12x kind of growth in the last 2 3 months, right? People want to prepare for their board exams. They want to prepare for entrance exams. So Vedantu, Byju's, all of these guys are witnessing phenomenal growth, and a lot of these people are first-time users. So I there are teachers who have to use something like Zoom to conduct classes right now in colleges, right? Uh, I think the most important thing is to align your business in such a way that onboarding becomes easy. Right. So today, if a customer is coming for the first time, they have not say. So when we talk about online businesses right now, we are talking about e-commerce, but there are B2B businesses like, say, Kirana shops who have just moved in. So Domino's is doing delivery right now of groceries, right? They would have gone to a nearby grocery store and arranged for inventory and all. Those people also would have come online. So in the gamut of activities, there's a ton of people who have suddenly come online. I think the most important thing is onboarding process has to be very smooth for customers, right? I'm talking about like logins, authorizations, the onboarding flow for the first 1 2 times that the customers interact with the system. That I think is the most crucial part, because as well, Spurti will probably be able to also back it up, that in most cases you lose on an app, you lose like 30 to 40% of your users on the first day itself, right? That's the kind of churn that happens in most apps. Even gaming apps today, which are witnessing a lot of traffic, they have similar kind of churns and very steep churn curves. So again, onboarding has to be easy, and then obviously be supplied by the right engagement, which is targeted to new users, right? So if somebody is already using this service, they are loyal customers, you have to create a new cohort. You have to segment these users, and you have to target your automations and communication in such a way that new users are always going to be handheld, because if they're coming first time online or first time to your platform, you need to have a different process for them.
Spurti, Abhijit actually spoke about the point. I mean that after the customers are actually on your side, right? I mean that how do you engage with them? How do you make sure that it's not very tough for them to shop for the first time? But for the businesses, how would business actually find out these customers? How would they reach out? I mean, this is actually completely no segment where there is no data available for these consumers. So how would you reach out to these customers?
Right, well, so Abhijit pointed out correctly that we have to make the onboarding easy for the people who are doing it for the first time. I would like to take a step back and go back to the customer journey of these users. So when they started their journey from a social marketing channel or Google or wherever, so they are not aware of the entire journey we crafted years ago, keeping in mind those people who use desktop first and then move to mobile and stuff like that. So when we think about these people, they are new. They are having some immediate requirements, and some of them don't. They don't know the ecosystem well. So we have to make it as simple as it can be, that the whole journey from their discovery of the product or the brand. So as Abhi pointed out about the Zoom call for teachers, so I'm sure teachers don't know what are the other options available because that Zoom has been served to them as a platter. So it is important for these products to actually reach out and get discovered by these people so that they are evaluated against other products, and then the whole choice of product happens. Similarly for B2B also, because the businesses are not open to be available on physical space, it's important for everybody to get online and then start talking about things. And getting back to B2C, it has been there since ever, but then this whole new set of people who have just gotten themselves on social media, Facebook or Instagram, started using it. They don't know a number of brands, and they can't search that on Google too. They're not used to it. So we have to be there. So that's where social media and performance marketing comes into place, wherein you have to target those people who are not really the engaged shoppers. These days campaigns run only for engaged shoppers. They are not the ones. So we can't just lose this whole bucket out. We have to get back to them, get ourselves to them, put ourselves on the plate and serve them right. Customers are lazy. They can't go back and discover 100 brands on one segment of product. We have to go out there to them.
Yeah, SEO is also a very important point for digital marketing, right? What are the things businesses should actually consider when they are building up their SEO? How would you start, and how would you build the SEO for a business, Purti?
Uh, So yeah, SEO is definitely a very important and a powerful strategy for any business to be B2B, B2C, everything. And I would suggest the day I meet businesses, when they ask me this question about when to start with SEO, I'm like day zero or day minus one of your website live. You can do it as early as possible because it is a marathon. It is not a sprint. You can't do it in 1 month and get results. It has to be done continuously over time, and because the search engine algos keeps on changing, you have to keep on improvising on your end, and it's a big game. So current situations don't allow that kind of time. For me, I understand this is 2 months. So it started in March in India, and it is going to be like this for a couple of more months. We don't have that kind of time. SEO would have been good if we would have been working on it like last year, but then we were not. Some of the businesses were not. So right now, I don't think so. Wasting our budgets or investing our budgets on the this part and investing our team efforts and time on this part would be fruitful enough. I think it's good to channelize everything towards the discovery of product. For example, performance marketing or social media or emails if you have retention strategies in place. But then SEO can be just minimalistic in nature for right now. Basic keyword optimization on page and a little link building would good for now. Yeah.
So, Abhijit, Spurti actually spoke a very important point that the SEO actually takes time and effort to build, right? How did you guys handle it at Rentomozo?
There is the part. So at the end of the day, a customer is asking a question, and our job is to appear in the top 3 or 4 searches on the organic results. That's basically what you're trying to achieve, right? That's what you're trying to optimize. And you have tons of ways of doing it. There are some long lead time methods, which is you build your domain authorities, you build backlinking, you publish the right articles, meta tags, you sort of optimize on page and off page SEO all the time, and those activities, as Purti says, are ongoing activities, right? One of the fastest ways actually to sort of get real juice out of the SEO engine would be to look at the website bounce rates and speed, right? So what tends to happen is that in times when times are good, you will have tons of affiliates and publishers and whatnots loading your website with bloatware and stuff, and it'll slow your website. So every website today has somebody, some 3 or 4 pop-ups, somebody has a chat box coming in, hi, how are you, etc., etc. All of those things add to your load time. Correct. And load time itself is a very complicated concept. It's not that you can decide, what is the first paint load time, what is the first interactable load time, what is the full load time. So that analysis can be done quickly. And see, a lot of the marketing tools which were probably not required today could be done away. So that's what we did at Rentomojo. I think that was something that we achieved quite quickly because we were able to shave off 5 to 6 seconds of our load time, right? So we used to sit with the product and tech team. We used to look at every bit on all platforms, web as well as MWeb, and we were able to sort of shave off these times by removing all these bloatwares and all these other cookie monsters, opt-in monsters. So there are the opt-in monster is always there, which is asking you to notify me. Now, typically, you don't want it to be there. It's like nobody wants an update from an e-commerce site on their browser. That's something just take 1-2 seconds of your load time, doesn't really serve your purpose. So one of the things that will happen is as the budgets go down or would have gone down in the last 2-3 months, a very clear picture of your organic performance would also emerge, right? So typically attribution, nobody has solved it properly, and nobody is able to know whether Facebook gave me what attribution, Google gave me what attribution. If everything becomes very low, then your organic strategy becomes clearer. Whether your blog is getting you customer clicks, where your Instagram is getting you customer clicks, whether social media other channels are getting you clicks, what is it, or is it search engines, right? So I think it is both an opportunity. So as Winston Churchill said, never waste a good crisis. So it's a good crisis. I would look at it at that way, that if you don't have anything, if the people upstairs are telling you have no money to spend, then you do with whatever you are left with. And the other thing is, I think most digital marketers, Purti would probably know more. CEOs have this tendency that they will ask you the moment they have money, they will say, okay, let's spend 2x money and get 2x orders last month. That's typically the problem statement which comes. So you have to be prepared for these things. And I think focusing on organic and SEO in the long term is the only way you have a sustainable, way to grow.
Abhijit, you also, I mean, spoke critical issue here. I mean, this is actually a long-term tussle, right? The load time of a website and the corresponding bounce rates. So, Spurti, how would you, I mean, which would you prioritize, the aesthetic of the website or the performance of the site?
Yeah, so this is an important debate that takes place all the time. Working with a creative director, I would like you to understand that these guys don't let go of aesthetics and the design. They are really fond of them. But then coming from the page load time issue and the bounce rates and stuff, I also take care of getting this right. We can't have a very good looking website with a huge load time. That is not good. That is worse than a average looking website for me. So optimizing between these two and balancing is perfect for a B2C site wherein you want your customers to also experience from the website. We can't take that part away. So when a customer is buying a product worth 50K or a lakh rupees, the experience and the time spent on website is very different when you're buying on a Myntra or a Flipkart or an Amazon. So to design that whole journey, it is important to have a website aesthetically and a good looking and more experiential in nature. But then reducing load time is still possible. We did it with the AMPM's website when we removed a video banner from the homepage, sorry, and we could reduce the load time by a huge bit. Also, when we think about our customers, I realize that mostly people are using mobile. So you can see 95% coming from mobile and buying. So then the whole experience has to be designed keeping in mind the mobile size of the view and the speed of the internet which mobile has. Some of them don't really work on Wi-Fi. They have their own 4G networks or a 3G network. So the whole thing has to be designed there. So the load time is really, really important for this part as well. It has to be under, so around 2 to 5 seconds is a good load time. Beyond that, you actually lose a visitor, and we could optimize that keeping the aesthetics in place. So it is very much possible to break a balance between these two things.
So we are running out of time. We have discussed many important things today. One last thing, which is I think is crucial, is mobile specific strategies. Like you mentioned earlier, that a lot of people who are joining for the first time, shopping online for the first time, are mobile users, right? What are the things businesses should keep in mind to target these mobile first customers? Abjit, I will open the floor for you first.
Typically, what tends to happen is that the customer is routed to your web applications. So the first thing you have to do is have a dynamic, mobile-friendly, mobile-first website in the first place, right? It would be a big problem if if the website isn't something that is mobile friendly, right? Options could be, you could do a PWA kind of an option where you don't have to worry about it all the time, and you can do it at one activity. Again, depending on the time and effort, it needs to be decided between the product and tech teams and the marketing teams which option you have to take. The second thing I would say also is that if you have a good app, right, and if the company has a good app which we feel that we just need you to download an app and then we'll take care of you through the app, then I think the most important thing is to make sure that the CTA has to be download the app, right? At least get the customer's phone number, send them an SMS with a deep link, and make sure that they download the app. Because many businesses, which are habit forming businesses, which are app first businesses, their objective, a lot of them will not give you the chance of downloading the actual app. So I think it depends on, and this is all depending on which company has what kind of development cycle. Somebody may have their app which is better than their mobile website. Somebody may have a better MWeb problem. So again, depending on where the technical development has happened, you could probably divert customers accordingly.
What would be your point of view?
Yeah. So I have been listening to this mobile first point since so many years, and I still see businesses not getting to it. It is high time. It is high time everybody should get to mobile first strategies. It is not only mobile first website, it is strategies in place. When you design a customer journey, when you design a campaign, when you design a product or a service, or if you are a B2B, if you're a B2C, whoever you are, you have to have a mobile first thing in place. Your website cannot look like how it looks on a desktop and then be little optimized for mobile quickly. It has to look great on mobile. 95% of an e-commerce traffic comes from mobile. People have to really get serious to this. And I have really observed people starting businesses who are just starting to get online because of this COVID situation also devise an entire game on desktop. Audience is not there. You have to take care of the device your audience is using. When it's a grocery store, I am sure more than 90% people are opting in from mobile. They are buying groceries from mobile. That's what I do. So the whole experience has to be mobile specific and not desktop specific. And when I say mobile specific, the speed of your page and the design should be friendly. It is not not a landscape, it's a portrait. And the size of the image, the size of the font, the colors, everything should make sense when it's on mobile. I think it's high time for everyone to go there, and also design strategies keeping in mind that people will come from mobile and then they land here. If you don't have a website which is mobile responsive right now, I think it's better to take yourself to a landing page which can be constructed easily for mobile only and land people there. They can learn about the product from there. They can sign up, they can go to the download app or whatever, but then that page has to be really mobile friendly.
Yeah, digital marketing is actually such a big space to talk about, but unfortunately, we are running out of time. Thank you, Abhijit and Spurti, for sharing your experience with us today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll
Thank you, Vaibhav.
we'll
Thank you,
share
Abhijit.
the recording of this webinar with all of you. Once again, thank you for joining us today. Have a nice day.